Hello, everyone. This lesson is going to be on how do ecosystems change over time, and that change is going to be called ecological succession. So if we take a look at how do ecosystems change over time, ecological succession is the changing of ecosystems over time. There are two types of ecological succession: primary succession and secondary succession. In primary succession, this is going to take place when there is nothing there to start with. So, for example, you're out in the middle of the ocean, a volcano erupts and it forms an island. There is nothing on that island. All that is there is the hardened ash from the volcano, basically lava rock, and there is nothing there. There was nothing there before, and then the volcano erupts, and now all of a sudden there's an island there. So in primary succession, what has to happen is pioneer species have to come in, and these are first organisms that start to grow in an area, and when they come in, they start to form and create soil. So one type of pioneer species that you will hear talked of a lot are things called lichens. So they can attach to rocks, they have algae in them, so that they are actually getting they're getting food because of the algae being photosynthetic. And when they attach to the rock, they start breaking down the rock, and then they will start forming soil. So you can see in the picture, the brown part is the soil that's starting to form. So over a period of time, you would have succession take place. So you have the lichens, now you have soil, and plants can grow, more plants can grow, flowering plants can grow, shrubs can grow, starting to form trees, and then at the end is what would be considered the climax community, and that's the main community of plants that are there after years of succession. So in our area, our climax community is basically a deciduous forest. If you look around here, if we would get rid of all of the houses and we get rid of everything over the course of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, this area would go back into a deciduous forest type of climax community. The other type of ecological succession is secondary succession. And this takes place when a disaster wipes out an area that is already established. So example, you can see here a forest fire destroys a forest. So here you already have the forest, you have a climax community, a fire comes in and destroys all of that. So one of the things to notice here is that in picture number 4, soil's already present. So you don't necessarily need the pioneer species like lichens to come in because soil's already there. So what you'll have is you'll have plants start to grow in the soil, you'll have bushes, trees, and eventually you will get back to the original climax community. How do organisms change over time? Another thing is eutrophication. This is where organic matter and soil gradually build up in water and fill it in. So this is where, you might have a pond someplace, but because of sediment and runoff, the matter fills in the pond and builds it up, and there's no longer a pond there. And the other term to know with this is biodiversity, and that's the number and variety of organisms in an area. Biodiversity is a good thing. The more variety of organisms you have in an area, the better off the area is. So when we're looking at this, when we're talking about ecological succession, the two main types are primary succession and secondary. Primary is where you're starting with nothing, and secondary is where you already had an ecosystem there, but some type of disaster wipes it out. So in order to understand ecological succession better, there's a couple of things I would like for you to do. The first is I would like for you to click on the link for ecological succession and look at Mount St. Helens. And you don't have to watch the life returns to Mount St. Helens, but watch the little video clip on Mount St. Helens and think about, do you think this is secondary or primary succession? The other thing that you are going to be doing, you are going to be watching video with the Amoeba Sisters. This is going to be an Ed puzzle that's graded. Remember, you can rewatch before you pick an answer choice, but once you pick an answer choice, you can't go back and change your answer. And then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be playing a succession interactive game. And you're going to be looking at primary and secondary succession. So if you look at the game, it'll take a little bit to load. And when the game loads, you're going to click Start a New Game. And you're going to pick primary succession first. When you pick primary succession, as you go through the game, you want to think about the organisms that need to go first and what they are called. When you actually go through and you do secondary succession, because you're going to be doing a little graded knowledge check after that. When you do secondary succession, you're going to want to read terms and think about what is happening with secondary succession and how is that different from primary succession. And then there's also a little knowledge check after you're finished the secondary succession. So the easiest way to learn about ecological succession is to actually go through and practice it, and that is what the succession interactive game does. If you have any questions, please come and see me during office hours, and I hope you are doing well. Bye.